Hello, my name is Zach Whalen and I'm creating this video to show you how to use some software called Zotero. First of all, you might be wondering, what is Zotero? Well, Zotero is software that lets you manage and annotate and organize and publish and export and collaborate on a bibliography, and I'll show you it right now. This is Zotero. This is my personal Zotero account, and what you're viewing here is my Zotero bibliography, my library. This is currently focused on a folder here on the left that you can see that's called GITP. What you see in the middle is the entries in that folder, and over here on the right we have all kinds of metadata and other things we can add to it. I'm kind of covering up part of this, but hopefully you can see how this works. There's a lot going on here that's a bit overwhelming when you first use it, but if you keep in mind just the three panes you have, on the left pane you have your libraries and your folders or collections within libraries. In the middle you have the content of that library, and over on the right you have information about whichever thing you have selected in the middle. So you have pretty logical, I think, hierarchy of selection within this. Now, I am viewing this in my desktop client for Zotero, and part of what I will be showing you later is going to use the web client or the web library. It looks a little different, but the basic organization, the basic logic is the same. Now, I have found Zotero very useful in my own career as a researcher, as a scholar, as someone who does this kind of work, and you can kind of see how much stuff I have in it. Just in my actual library, I don't know how many things I have here, maybe a couple thousand. This was something that was very useful when I was creating my dissertation about 12 years ago now, but it, if nothing else, it was helpful in organizing and then alphabetizing and then printing my bibliography as I was working on that very, very large document. So it's this is it when you're using it, when you're looking at Zotero by itself. But the beauty of Zotero really is how you import citation information into Zotero and then you can export it out of here. So let me show you that next. Next, I'm going to show you how to use Zotero to collect citations that you find on the web. I am not showing you how to install and set it up because I can show you that in a moment. I want to get right to the exciting part. All right, now I realize our definitions of exciting may be different, but this truly is very exciting to me that this is something that you can do very easily with Zotero. No, check this out. So Zotero is already installed in this computer and it's integrated with Firefox. This is the Firefox web browser I'm using right now. This little icon right here, that's all Zotero is doing at this moment, which is actually nothing, but that's where Zotero will show up in just a minute, and we'll see it in action here in a couple places. I've got a tab for Google Scholar, I've got a tab for UMW libraries, because if you're one of my students, that's probably how you're going to be doing your research. So let's take a look. We are currently reading My Favorite Thing is Monsters by Emil Ferris. So let's say you wanted to write a research paper about My Favorite Thing is Monsters by Emil Ferris. Let's try it out. Let's just do a Google search here. Emil Ferris. Let's just start with Emil Ferris and see if we can find anything out. Okay, so there's My Favorite Thing is Monsters, Book 1. Oh, here's The Illusion of Reality in Emil Ferris's graphic novel My Favorite Thing is Monsters, 2017. This sounds pretty interesting. This sounds like a paper, perhaps? Interesting. It looks like it was originally published in Spanish. That's interesting too. But kind of going through here, I can see this bit about cerebrospinal fluid oxytocin. That's probably not related. It's a it's a wide range, but this looks pretty good. Now this is a let's see what we can find out about this if we click on it. Okay, interesting. So there it is in Spanish. Now I don't know for sure if I'm going to be able to read this or not. I don't. First of all, it's in Spanish, but second of all, I don't know if I'm going to have access to this or not. But I do want to definitely look at this later. So I don't know if you noticed, but up here in the little bar where Zotero is, that has changed from that generic page icon to something that looks a little bit more like a document. And watch what happens if I click this. If I click this, it goes saving to my library, and it saves it. It looks like it attempted to get the full text PDF, but I don't know if that's the English full text PDF. We'll have to take a look. So let's pull up Zotero and see what happened. Let me turn this one off so you can see it, and let's see if this showed up in my Zotero library. Let's see. Oh yeah, it did. Right, it was already on it. So this is that document that I just collected, The Illusion of Reality in Emil Ferris's graphic novel, My Favorite Thing is Monsters by Hernandez. I can't read all of that in this view because it's too small. But here it is, and here's the full text PDF. Let's see how that looks. I don't know if this is going to pop up in a way that, yeah, this is not going to show up on OBS, but this is in English, so this is good. Excellent. I don't know what this is exactly, what kind of document this is, but it looks really interesting. It looks kind of like a master's thesis to me, or a book chapter. So pretty interesting, right? Now I've got it in my collection here. I do need to do a little bit more work to figure out what kind of thing this is. Probably make sure these are expressed in English, but this is pretty good. Now I can take a look at this and decide if it's going to be useful for my research or not. Let's try another example. One of the books that we read this semester was Stuck Rubber Baby by Howard Cruse. So let's look for some articles about Stuck Rubber Baby in our library catalog. And articles, books, anything about Stuck Rubber Baby. We'll hit search. And here's the book itself, it looks like. Here's a book about the reframing history in comics. It probably addresses it, comics in the US South. Can't Leave Me Behind, racism, gay politics, coming of age. Yes, all these look like good sources if I were going to write a paper about it. Probably book list, probably not. Marking 20 Publishers Weekly, probably not. But lots of these are pretty good. Now, Zotero, if you remember, it turned into that little page icon. Right now, if you notice, it's actually a little folder, and that's great because it means it's found a lot of things. So if we click on that, Zotero is going to pop up, and you can't see it. Oh no. Let me see if I can make this visible. There it is. Zotero popped up this little window here because I clicked on that folder icon, and it's asking me to choose which of these citations I'd like to save. Well, I already have the book, but I'll go ahead and get it again. And I think it was like these first four, really these first five were pretty good. So I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to go do something. Ended up with two little windows there, but that's all right. And let's take a look at what happened in my Zotero library. Here in my Zotero library, this should show up now here at the bottom. So now they are. So as you can see, they actually have different icons depending on what type of thing it is. Here's comics and the US South by Costello and Whitted. Here's the book itself. Here's graphic memories of the Civil Rights Movement, reframing history in comics. So these are all looking pretty good. Now let's pretend we did this 5 or 6, 7, 8 more times. It might be useful to put all these things together into a folder. As you can see, this is just in my main library page. I have a couple thousand things in this page. I think it would be useful to organize my work in this collection. So over here on the left in Zotero, I'm going to hit New Collection. It's basically a folder, and I'll call this Stuck Rubber Baby. You know, just I like to do things that way. So notice how I'm clicking on the left to get from one folder to the next. Let me just select all of those things. Yeah, we'll get, and actually this one was, what was this? Okay, I don't remember some of these, why I have these in here, but they look good. I can shift click to select all of those. So I click this one and then scroll down a bit and then hold my shift key, click here again, and I've got these all selected. And so now I'm going to click and drag these over until they highlight the folder that I'm trying to move these to, and then I drop that. So I just released it, and now when I click on this, it's, yeah, there we go. All those documents are here. All those things that I've cited, they're here. And that's pretty good. Now, my next thing I would probably want to do is actually read these, and as I read them, I can enter notes here in Zotero. I can write something interesting there, something interesting, important to help me remember why I thought this was a useful thing to add to my bibliography, and maybe add some thoughts about how I might use this in an eventual paper. So that's kind of the research phase of casting this wide net when you're first starting off your research, and then gathering everything up into a Zotero collection so you can start working through it. That's what I usually do first when I'm working on a new project. Next, I'm going to show you how to export citations with Zotero. So after you've done your research and you've organized things in here, let's say you decided you want to actually cite all of these things in a paper that you're writing about Stuck Rubber Baby. So let's go ahead and start the paper first, and then I'll show you how I can export that. Let me pull this back up here. Let's make a new document, a Google Doc, and we can go from there. Now there is an integration with Zotero where you can import things directly into your document from Zotero. As you can see, the Zotero menu pops up. We could try that, I guess, but I'll show you kind of the classic way to do it first, and then I'll see if I can figure out how this newer extension thing works here with Google Docs. So this is my document that I'm going to be pasting things in. So back here from my Zotero library, let me just select all these things again. Just you can do Control A since they're all of them here, or you can do Shift click. Let's say right click, and then I'm going to create a bibliography from items. So let's see what this looks like. Create a bibliography from items. And you can't see that little pop-up there. Let me adjust that source so you can see it. And don't know why you can't see it. Promise it's there. Come on now. Oh, that's why, because I had it hidden. Okay, so this little pop-up came up here, and this is, let me make that a little bigger. Okay, finally. So this little pop-up came up whenever I hit the Create Bibliography button, and now I can select whichever bibliography style I need to use. If it's one of my classes, I do prefer the Modern Language Association 8th edition, but the beauty of this is that you can actually switch to different bibliography formats and back and forth very easily. But we're going to go ahead and select 8th edition there. Output method, I'm going to copy this to clipboard so I can paste it. Output as bibliography. Okay. And let's say okay. And this is just put it on my clipboard. I can't see it, but it is there. And I will be able to see it momentarily whenever I put it onto this document. I'm just going to right click and then paste and then, oh, well, I have to use my keyboard, it tells me. So let me do that, and there it is. There's my bibliography, alphabetized, ready to go. Well, not totally ready to go. You still do need to go through and clean these up and make sure that they actually make sense if you're going to actually use something like this in a paper for me. But you know, it's pretty good, and I think that's sometimes, it's often good enough. So that's the basic workflow for using Zotero once you've already got it installed. Next, I'm going to show you how to actually sign up for it and then do the things that you need to do for the assignment in my class. In this next segment, I'm going to show you how to sign up for Zotero and join the group library that we're going to be using for this class. Now, I already have a Zotero account. You may have one, you may not. It doesn't matter if you already have an account, you're welcome to keep using that account, but if you don't have one, you do need to sign up for one. So I'm going to show you how to sign up for one right now. It just takes a couple of steps. I'm going to go to the login page here from zotero.org. As you can see, my browser is trying to fill this in for me automatically, but I'm going to go to register for a free account, and I'm going to fill it in here. I'm going to make up a new fake one. Let's say Zach Whalen demo, and then I'll go ahead and enter my using the infinite Gmail trick. Okay, that's all that was. Next, I'm going to go to my email. I'm not going to put that on the video here, but rest assured it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so I got an email with a link that just said click here to validate your account or something like that, and I just clicked it and it took me here. It shows me I'm already logged in, and it took me straight to the installation and syncing step, which is great. Now, I'm not going to go through these steps because they're described really well here. There's a video showing you how to do it. There's resources on our library page showing you how to do these things, and if you get stuck, you can always ask for help. The Digital Knowledge Center at UMW can do a tutorial or a consultation just about basic Zotero use. So I'm going to count on these things, these resources, to help you figure these things out. Just bearing in mind that some of the interfaces, these things will look a little different. But that's basically it. Now I'm going to take a look at the web library. This is a web-facing view of this account. I'm not going to sync my local account because that would mess up my libraries. But this is what it looks like if you just use it on the web. And technically, you can just use it on the web. You don't have to download the client. I like using the client. I think you will like it as well, so I recommend that. But I believe for this assignment, you can do this entirely using the web, which might be convenient if any of you are using Chromebook. So yeah, so the next thing you need to do after installing Zotero is join our group library. What I've shown you so far has just been basic use of Zotero. I showed you how I use it, how you might use it to create a bibliography for a research paper, and how to sign up for an account. I'm trusting you to figure out how to install it and set it up on your computer. You will need to set up syncing, so make sure you do that if you want to use that desktop client. Now I'm going to show you some of the things that are specific to this assignment, including how to join our group library for this project. So this is So this is the assignment page for the annotated bibliography. The idea for this assignment is that we are working together to create a large annotated bibliography together. So each of you will contribute 5 items to this annotated bibliography so that when we're done we'll have over 100 items in our bibliography, and these items should be high quality comic scholarship that you think could be relevant to a research paper like the one that you're going to be creating for your final. So to organize this is first of all a bit of logistics. You need to join our group, and you can do that from the assignment page on our website. If you click request to join, it should take you to the ANGL 386 F20 Zotero group, and as you can see I'm logged in with my demo account. So this is just like you would see it if you were logged in with your fresh brand new Zotero account or your Zotero account that you already had. And as you can see there's a join button here, so you want to click that join button and it's going to send an email to me, the administrator of the group, and I will approve you if I recognize your name. If I don't recognize your name, I might try to figure out who that is before I let it in, but this is meant to be open to people in the group, and people in the class. So I will try to let you in as soon as I can see those. So that's something that you should do first. Or really second, I guess, if you've just created your account. If you think of creating the account as the first step, this is the second step, is to join our group. I switched to my main account and approved my request, and I switched to my main account, approved myself to be a member of this group, and so I've logged back in as my new account, and you can see it here. I'm looking at the same page, the group page and Zotero.org, and I can see that I'm already a member of ENGL 386 F20, and I can take a look at the group library here if I want to. There's nothing in it yet, but there it is. And this is actually taking me to the web library, the web interface to my Zotero collection. This is a brand new account. I don't have anything in it yet, but this is where things will go. Now let's try it out, and now that you can see this organization, hopefully you recall the left pane, middle pane, right pane, or left, middle, right. I'm backwards here in this video. So I'm going to add a few things in here so you can kind of see how this is going to work, and then I'm going to add those things to the group library to show you what you're going to be responsible for as you're completing this assignment. Now, it occurred to me that this thing that says part 5, I might have forgotten to update that number, so this might actually be part 6 or 7 or something like that, but in any case, this is the part where I'm going to show you how to add items to your library and then merge those items with the group bibliography, all using Zotero. So let's take a look. So one thing I didn't mention before, but it is pretty important, is that you might need to install something in addition to Zotero, something called the Zotero connector. And the installation steps should prompt you to install the thing that makes sense for you. In other words, I'm using Zotero on Linux right now using the Firefox browser, so it gives me those options here up front, but you can see the other options here. There's the Zotero Firefox connector. There's also, if you clicked on this, you can see Chrome, Safari, Edge. Should work for all of those. And that's what gives you that little button like I have up here, and that's what you use to import items into your library, which is what I'm going to show you how to do now. So this is my library here. I do already have an item here, but I'm going to delete that so I can show you how to add it. And it's just a couple of steps really, and it's should be pretty quickly. Now, let's say first of all that you were searching for something on Google Scholar. This is a common way to search for things, and it does often work pretty well to bring to the surface things that you might not have come across otherwise. So let's see if we can find out something about Ms. Marvel Kamala Khan. Lots of cool things here, and the first one actually looks pretty good. So let me see what happens if we click on it. This is in the journal Girlhood Studies, which I've not heard of, but it sounds pretty good. And if you scroll down here, unfortunately, you can see that, oh, I don't have access to this. And it's asking me for $22 to access this content, which is, first of all, ridiculous. And second of all, you should not ever pay that kind of thing for an article. Now, thankfully, I have looked into this. We do have access to this article through our library, but to get to it, you need to access it through our library webpage. So if you go to UMW, the UMW library page, in fact, I'll start this whole search over so you can see it, and you go to Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, same search query, I think same exact search query, and it has a couple of other things which are pretty good, but it does include this one here, comics as public pedagogy, reading Muslim masculinities through Muslim femininities in Ms. Marvel. And you can see that it has this tag here saying full text available, so that's great. Let's take a look at it here. We can learn a bit more about it. Unfortunately, and this is a little confusing sometimes, Zotero thinks this is a book for some reason, and it pops up with a book icon. So I'm not going to click on that yet because that's probably not going to include all of the metadata that I need to make this a proper citation for a journal article, which is what this actually is. So this View It tab should let me view it if I click on this to view the content. Now, I'm already logged in through my library account, I think. If you aren't, you might need to do something to authenticate. At this point, though, it seems to just be working for me. It just is taking a minute to hand off that authentication. Okay, it is finally working. And you can see I do have complete access to it. I can scroll down. I can see all the content here, which is great. Now, I do want to insist on this. Like, if you're going to be adding items to our group library, they need to be items that you've actually read. So if you get to something and it's a paywall, you're not allowed to access it, and you can't access it through the library or some other ways, there's no way that you can read it well enough to create a summary of it for our annotated bibliography. So go on to something else, find something else. Do not include something that you have not read in our annotated bibliography. I'm going to include something I haven't read just for the sake of this video, but I don't want you to do that for this assignment. All right, so I want to make sure that's clear. All right, so this is it. Now let's see. It's popping this up about a proxy, which is, I don't want to always do that, so I'm just going to leave that alone for now. But this is all it here, and so now I'm going to click on this Zotero icon, and I see something that's a little odd about this. This shows up as just a generic web page. It doesn't show up as a journal article, so I might need to correct some things once it's imported in here. So let's see what happens. I'll click on that. It says saving it to zotero.org. Yeah, it's just saving the snapshot. It's not saving the PDF, unfortunately, so that's not great, but we can still work on that here. Here it is imported into my Zotero library, and if I click on this, I have access to all the different metadata down here. Usually this would be over on the right, but it's compressed a bit so that I can make it easier to read for this. And I need to go ahead and change a couple things about this because this is not correct. This is a journal article here, but Zotero thinks this is a web page, and this has to do with how ProQuest presented the data of this article to Zotero. It used a different format, and so Zotero couldn't parse out the pieces of it in a way to make sense of it to call this a journal article. So that's unfortunate, but not too bad. So this is a journal article, but it doesn't include any of the information that I need to know about a journal article to complete a citation for it. I need to know the title of the article, the title of the publication, the authors, the volume and issue number. So those are things that I don't have yet, but I can get those if I click on this thing where it says web page, and then I can click on what this actually, I can select what this actually is. If I can move in here, yeah, there it is, journal article. And so now that I selected journal article, it should give me more of the information that I need. So the title is a very long title, not ProQuest, we don't need that. It's Marble, there we go. And the short title is that. Now, where are my other fields? Show empty fields, there we go. Let's add the fields that we actually do know. So where's the right page? Here we are. So Kojamuli. Okay, so I'm just going to be copying and pasting some values from that to there. So that's, and then Shanila S. So I'm just selecting the parts here. So it's just last name, first name, the first author, and then click the plus sign there to add the second author, which is Nicolini. Wrong tab. Alyssa D. Cool. Okay, so we're getting there. What else do we need? We need to get the actual journal title, which is Girlhood Studies. So that's the publication, and the volume was Volume 8, Issue 3. So we'll do that here. Volume 8, Issue 3. Do we have page numbers? We do not, but that's pretty good. Okay, and then what year? 2000. Was that? Yeah, winter 2015 is when this was published. So for the date, we'll just go with, let's type that, winter 2015. We didn't get page numbers on this one. It must be an online journal. That's fine. And this search, this URL is kind of awkward, but it'll work because it gets us back to it. Now, all this said, it might have been possible to use the magic wand here to import this via DOI, and I suppose I could try that just out of curiosity. This is a DOI, and often the DOI will work better than the connector, but let's try it just to see. It may not. Okay, actually that did work a lot better. So that is another way to get the same content in here, and you can see that these are now duplicate entries more or less, but these are complete. The way I initially imported it in, that would not be good enough. So if you get in something like that, make sure that you add to it. Okay, now that we've got this in here, the next step would be, of course, to read it. I don't have time to read it on this video, so I'm not going to do that. But let's talk about what you would actually be doing. This is the Notes tab, and when you click on this, you get this little area where you can add a note, and you can just start typing it. Usually it would be below, but that's okay. What I want you to do in these notes is about 200 words, and just obviously a ballpark. But what I'm looking for is a few specific things. So first of all, what is this about? What is the main argument or principal argument? How could this be useful in someone's study? And then is there anything else you need to know, or that I need to know about it? So these are specific questions. You can write the question if you want, but really just kind of answer those in order in this little area here, and you'll be fine. This should be in your own words. You should not copy and paste the abstract from the article, because that's not your words. Those are someone else's words. You need to read the article and understand it well enough that you can answer those questions. What is the main argument? What is their main potential value that they're adding here? What is it about? What is the main argument? How is it useful for potential study? And is there anything else to know about it? Okay, so it should be about 200 words in there. I'm just going to write, these are my notes, on the understanding that you can figure out how to do this and add that in there. Now, you need to do this 5 times, so you have 5 of these that are complete citations with all of the metadata correctly in place. It needs to have robust notes for each of those 5, and then once you've got that done, you're ready to merge it with our group library. Here's how you do that. At least I think this is how I think this will work in the web library. Let's find out. So this is, on the left is my library. Down here is the group library, the ENGL386 group library. There's nothing in it yet. But if I click on my library, I'm back here. This is where I was just working. You've got this thing here, which has these are my notes note. Let's see, I think I can just click and drag, and looks like it's going to work, and drop it on the group library, and there it is. It is in the group library, and that's how you merge it. Now, there is one more step that you need to do in order to complete this, and I'll show you that in the next part. Okay, finally, at least I think this is finally, and at least I think this is part 7. Here's what you need to do as the final step when you're ready to turn it in. I'm currently viewing the Zotero library. I just have one item in the group library at all. This is the one that I created as a demo, and I've already added, I've corrected the metadata on it. I've added my note. Actually, I have not added the note on this one. Let me just quickly add a note here. This is my note. I think I actually merged the wrong one with the group library, but that's okay. So that's, I've done the work there to add this into here. A couple things you still need to do. First of all, when you go to when you look at these tabs here, again, these will be up on the right, or on the right side of it whenever you're looking at it in a wider window. But you need to tag the item that you added with your initials. So click on the word tags, and then add tags, and then ZNW. Those are my initials. Go with 3 initials. I don't know off the top of my head if anyone's going to have the same first and last name, first and last initials in this class, but usually just going with 3 initials is fine, and there's not any, usually there's not any duplication of those within the class, but that should be good enough. This is so that I can quickly isolate and find the ones that you have individually contributed. Okay, so that's that. Now there's, one tag, ZNW. Now this next bit is a little wonky, and I don't know of a better way to do this, so bear with me, but it's not too bad. So what we're looking at here is the web library, just as one item, but it'll have 100 or over 100 by the time we're done with this, and so it may have quite a few whenever you're ready. You'll see your items alongside everyone else's, and that's great. That's the idea. But you want a way to isolate just the items that you created. And what you can do is you can actually manipulate the URL here to get that. So where it says, look how it says zotero.org/groups/numbers/ENGL386 F20. And then where it says items, instead of items, I think it just goes right here. It's just tags. Change that to the word tags, and then add your initials, the actual letters of your initials tag. And that should just pull up the ones that you've tagged. Now that's, I only have one in here. Let me just test this real quick and make sure that that's the case, that it actually is doing that like I think it is. Let's add another item and let's tag it differently just to make sure that this is going to let us look at those one group at a time. So let me get this search result loading here. Let's add, sure, this one looks good too. Unveiling Marvels, Miss Marvel, and the reception of the new Muslim superheroine. Great, let's view it. Yes, yes, blah, blah, blah. Great. Okay, so this one actually worked pretty well. So I'm going to click save to Zotero, and it should be adding it in here. And let's see if that actually worked. It should save that in my, yes, it should save it in my library, not in the group library. All right, so I would need to do the same thing that I did on the last one, to sort of double check all the metadata. This one looks fine. Actually read it and then write a note about it where I say things like what it's about, what the main argument is, how it might be useful, etc. Whatever you need to write there. And then I'm going to merge this with the group library by clicking, dragging, and dropping. And now as I look in the group library, I have 2 articles in here so far. There's Comics as Public Pedagogy, and then Unveiling Marvels. This is the one I just added. I want to make sure that it has, oh, it didn't add my note with it, but okay, I guess you have to add it to the group library and then add your note. That's awkward, but that's how we have to do it. This is my note. And that should work okay. Let's see, let's make sure that it keeps that note. And it does, good. Okay, so the final thing, as I just said, is you need to tag it. So make sure you click on tag and then tag it with your initials. This one came with a bunch of tags already, and that's fine. But actually, what I want to do is test this by adding a different set of initials. That's my brother's initials. So let's see if this lets me filter by either one of those. So those are the tags for Z and W, and these are the tags for AJW. Yeah, there you go. Works pretty well. Great. And this is going to give you a URL that lets you only show the items that you have added and that are only tagged as your name. And this is the URL that I would like for you to submit in Canvas. And that's it. So that was a quick intro to Zotero and a demonstration of how you can use it to complete the annotated bibliography assignment for my class. I hope it makes sense. I feel like I did cover a lot there, and some of it's kind of fiddly and maybe kind of wonky and unusual if you've never done it before, but I definitely recommend check out the DKC, the Digital Knowledge Center. They have consultations for just working with Zotero, and if you're unclear about how to do some of the steps for my assignment, just ask me and I will try to show you. I'd be happy to show you. Sometimes it's a process, and so a video like this is hopefully helpful because you can see how those different processes, how the different steps of those processes come together. So that's it. Hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching. Hope you're doing well. Have a good day.